Welcome to another amazing new episode of the PCOS Fertility Health Podcast. Hi, I am your host, Dr. Angela Potter. I'm the creator of the PCOS Fertility Protocol, and day in and day out, I am helping women just like you who have PCOS and who are struggling to get pregnant to help them optimize their fertility so that they can have the best chance at getting pregnant with PCOS. And I'm really happy that you're here today because we are going over step 4 of the PCOS fertility protocol. And we are covering PCOS fertility nutrients today. And so this is going to dive into a really important discussion about weight loss and fertility. So if you have ever been told, oh, just lose weight and everything will open up for you, or in order to get pregnant, you need to go lose 150 pounds. If you have been given those kinds of dismissive fertility advice, then this episode is very important for you. And before we get into it today, if you are loving these episodes, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and give me a positive review because those reviews help this podcast just keep going and going. And if you are new to this podcast and this is your first time listening, welcome. I am so happy that you have found me and have found this community here with the podcast, and you are about to embark on a transformational journey as you listen to each one of these podcast episodes. After this one, go back and listen to the earlier episodes, and you are going to get some incredible foundations to help you understand what has been in the way of you getting pregnant and those missing links to PCOS fertility. And for all of you joining here, whether you're new or you've been here since the beginning or you joined somewhere in between, I want to take a minute just to acknowledge you for being here and for choosing to listen to something that helps you improve your chances of getting pregnant with PCOS. Because you have a choice every day. You could be browsing through social media. You could be listening to another podcast. And, maybe you're here while you're driving in the car, or you're folding laundry, or you're doing something else, but you are still choosing to have this podcast, these words of hope and transformation, to be a part of your story and to be a part of your journey. And that's powerful. So I acknowledge you for showing up here and saying, yes, I want to know what I can be doing to support my body to open up fertility. And I hope you can acknowledge yourself for taking that step to listen and surround yourself with actionable steps for fertility and with hope. And so on that note, let's dive in. We are covering this important PCOS fertility protocol step, and that is replacing key fertility nutrients in order to help your body to be functioning as it's supposed to, opening up regular periods and ovulation, so then you can move even closer to your goal of having a baby. Now, the past 3 episodes that we have been covering on this podcast have walked you through the first 3 steps of the PCOS fertility protocol. And those steps, if you noticed, are hyper-focused on clarity. And, if you've listened to those episodes already, you know how important it is to get that really comprehensive look of clarity into what your body is doing and saying. Because just like if you were trying to get to a coffee shop, right? And you put that into your maps on your phone would not be able to tell you how to get to that coffee shop if it doesn't know where you're starting from. So if you have no idea where you're starting from, or you have just some vague markers, okay, well, I see there's a brown house next to me, there's, a field of trees on this side, Okay, if you have those vague markers, it still is not going to lead you to where you want to go. So if you're trying to get to that coffee shop, you need to know, you need to have your GPS marker on, or you need to know I am at the corner of 6th Street and Broadway. And from there, then you're able to get directions to where this coffee shop is. Same thing with your health and with your fertility. Getting these essential elements of clarity to understand where you're starting from, which then sets you up for the best individualized plan that you can have for your fertility. So the past few episodes have focused on that, this essential clarity that needs to happen when you're trying to get pregnant with PCOS. Now, once you have that clarity, then you move forward with a plan that's specific to your body with what showed up when you were looking into that clarity. And do you see right there how different that is from typical fertility plans? How once you get that information through lab tests and your personal medical history and figuring out your PCOS type, how that sets you up for a plan that needs to address what came up for you. And that's totally different than this conveyor belt system of fertility that is most common. And that conveyor belt is, when you go in and talk to your doctor and they recommend metformin, you try metformin for a few months. If that doesn't work, then you move forward to letrozole cycles with timed intercourse, and then you try IUI. And if that doesn't work, then you move forward to IVF. Okay, that's that conveyor belt type of fertility care, which doesn't address the missing key element of figuring out what is going on in your specific body. Isn't that a little bit freeing to understand, wow, there is this possibility that I can figure out what's going on with my own body to understand what my body needs to open up fertility? Yes. It's really cool. So when we are moving into this stage of the PCOS fertility protocol of action, of putting together this fertility plan in place, the first thing that I am doing is putting together my fertility foundations protocol for my clients and patients. And these are the nutrients that are essential to open up that beginning step to getting balanced cycles. It is replacing nutrients that are very commonly deficient in our bodies and setting that stage for lowering inflammation, for promoting hormone balance, and supporting the body to move into this place where it's ready to be making these eggs that are ready to ovulate and ready to help you make a baby. Vitamin D is a classic example. I live in Portland, Oregon. I work with women who are local here, and I work with women all over the country. But for those of my clients who are in the Pacific Northwest, it is really common. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen a normal vitamin D level in all my years of testing for vitamin D. And so it's important to get that test done because vitamin D is a fat-soluble hormone. And so you do have a risk of taking too much and having too much levels of toxicity. So you want to be sure that you know your values. But then once you know your value, getting a plan to help raise those levels so that it's optimal for fertility. So we start with that fertility foundations protocol. Now, replenishing fertility nutrients also plays into a nourishing food plan for the body that is focused on fertility. And I am not the kind of doctor who's going to say, well, you need to lose 150 pounds and that's when you'll get pregnant. Sometimes weight loss can be a part of your journey. More often, it has to do with blood sugar balance, insulin levels, that those are out of balance, which then contribute to that weight gain, which, really help you hold on to weight. And so when we're talking about replacing fertility-specific nutrients, it always starts with the diet and what foods that we eat that then create this fertile foundation for hormone balance and for fertility opening up. So when you're getting that advice from a doctor or a fertility specialist, like, oh, just go lose 150 pounds or weight loss is going to fix it, that is dismissive fertility advice. And some people listening might not agree with that. But from my perspective, over 10 years of clinical practice, that is what I see. And here's why. So very often when women are told, well, you just have to lose weight, then, and many doctors who are giving out this type of information don't have the bandwidth to then give that next level of nutrition and diet advice to help that person do that weight loss in a very sustainable way. And so most women are just led to figure it out on their own. And we live in a diet culture and a food culture that is hyper-focused on these restrictive types of diets that take out every food that you love. No dairy, no gluten, no sugar, none of that. Or it's a calorie-specific diet where you're eating 500 calories a day. Both of those diets, when you just start on that course right away, that can be very stressful on the body. And you probably can feel it too because you're super motivated for the first 2 days, and then 2 days into it, you're thinking, I cannot stop thinking about those cookies that I hid in the back of the cabinet. Like, they are the only thing I can think about. And then you end up going to eat them. It's only been 2 days and you feel guilty and like your fertility problems are all your fault. Or you're super motivated and you're eating salads for 3 meals a day for, 4 days, and you're feeling really good. And then all of a sudden you are super irritable and your husband is like, what is wrong with you? And you're feeling shaky and you just don't feel good. And then you end up going into the pantry and just eating all the foods again. And you're like, okay. Then you're there in that place where you're feeling guilty and you feel like it's all your fault. And it's not your fault. It's just that you don't have the resources to be supporting that type of a journey. And it absolutely is possible for you to be eating in a way that, sure, might support weight loss, but is more focused on replacing fertility-specific nutrients through the diet, through creating this nourishing food plan that is keeping your body in this fertile environment, because minerals are essential for hormone balance, and certain vitamins are key for keeping those eggs at the place where they are ready to mature and help you make a baby. And if you don't have those in your diet, well, you're just keeping your chances of getting pregnant low. And so when I am working with clients and patients, we are creating this nourishing food plan that is specific to flooding the body with nutrients to create that fertile environment, and also to be balancing blood sugar. Because again, it is less often about the actual weight than it is about insulin resistance and blood sugar issues. And when we're working on blood sugar, and if you have blood sugar issues, then focusing on food first, potentially metformin is needed, potentially myo-inositol or berberine, any of the really well-researched medications and supplements that support blood sugar balance. Maybe those are needed depending on how significant your blood sugar issues are. But food needs to be at the foundation of balancing blood sugar levels, because your blood sugar responds to the food that you're eating on a daily basis. Your blood sugar is changing even when you're not eating foods. And so you need to know how to nourish your body in a way that then sets up this stage for your hormone balance and for optimal fertility. And this is why focusing on that nourishing, fertile food plan is one of the first action steps that we take when you're working with me to help improve your fertility with PCOS, because it's the foundation. And so at this point, a good question to ask yourself is, the doctor or doctors that you're working with for your fertility right now, have they once ever said to you, here are the fertility foundations for you to be starting to help lower inflammation, help with hormone balance, and to support egg quality? Have they talked to you about something like that? If they are talking to you about nutrition, have they supported you with how to do that? Do they talk to you about specific nutrients that are necessary? Do they talk about how to create a food plan that is specific to fertility and is not one of these restrictive diets that's going to push you into even more stress? This step is one of my favorites because I'm not sure if you knew this about me, but before becoming a doctor, I was a nutritionist. I have my undergraduate degree in nutrition, and that program included culinary arts, and so helping people to come up with creative and yummy and delicious ways to be getting fertility-specific nutrients in through their food is one of my favorite parts of what I do. And I help with recipes, I provide meal plans, and so it's really important to me that there is this basis of support so you know how to move forward, and you have things like recipes that help you then say, okay, I could be starting this tomorrow, and I have these tools on board to then create these foods that are supporting these important nutrients inside my body in order for fertility to be optimized. And so if you aren't working with a doctor who is providing certain nutrients for your body and helping you with this type of nourishing nutrition advice, then you have a missing piece in your fertility journey. And if you're at a place where you are ready to take action and you are tired of getting that kind of dismissive fertility advice, then you need to jump on a call with me. I have free PCOS fertility breakthrough sessions open. You and I are going to talk about your specific fertility needs, what medications you've tried, what supplements you've tried, what other diets you've tried, and then I'll be able to help you figure out, based on that, what's the missing piece to you having the best fertility. And I will share with you how you can then get to that place. So I'm going to include the link below. It's drangelapotter.com/PCOS. You can go ahead and see the calendar right away to see what time works best in your schedule. And as we wrap up here today, I want to remind you that everything that I talk about here on this podcast is for informational purposes only. And it shouldn't replace the medical advice that you're currently getting from your doctor. And the only way for me to give you one-on-one advice specific to your situation is by jumping on one of those free PCOS fertility breakthrough sessions. And as you go forth this week, I can't wait to see you next Wednesday, where we are meeting right back here. But if nobody has told you this today, I want to be the one to tell you that I believe in you. And I believe in your ability to have the best chance at getting pregnant with PCOS.